Yeah. So I remember the first thing, I have to confess, the first time I heard Iron Maiden was Run to the Hills. And
Well,
so
you're younger and you were traveling a lot, so you know, to
yeah,
be in one place and to know where to go to possibly, or where to be to
I,
possibly get hit over the head with something like that, that's not your fault.
I remember hearing a Run to the Hills as a single when I lived in Alabama and I was on my way back to San Antonio. And in the span of maybe, less than 6 months, I moved from one state to the other. And by the time I got back to San Antonio, uh, uh, Run to the Hills and Number of the Beast were videos on MTV. And I was blown away. That was it. Iron Maiden to me is one of those milestone bands. Like I started with Kiss, and then I consider myself to have graduated to like Van Halen and AC/DC. And those two bands wore the crown for a long time. And then Iron Maiden stole it and held it for a very long time. And it was because of those tracks off Number of the Beast. But now I live in San Antonio where we have Joe Anthony on the radio, and he's playing. I'm going backwards and I'm hearing Wrathchild and
Yeah.
Prowler and Running Free,
Yeah.
and I'm going backwards and buying those albums. So I found them very quickly, but my first cue towards Iron Maiden was the Number of the Beast record and Run to the Hills. But I remember finding Killers. I bought it first, and immediately, of course, you recognize there's a different singer here. But this guy's great, and the music was amazing, and I loved it. And of course, the album cover again is right there. It's awesome. What's not to love, right? So I loved Killers, and then went and found the self-titled, and then Made in Japan, and
I feel like you were
all
only
three of
being,
those.
you were only by, just by, I won't say disadvantage, but just where you were on in the scheme of, your Iron Maiden fandom. I feel
Yeah,
like, it caught you when it finally caught up to you.
yeah.
It was just on the scale of, on the discography scale.
It was
That's
underground.
okay. That's okay.
It was
So
all underground
it was
until Number of the Beast.
it was
And even
grooming
that,
you. Well, that was 83, right?
82. Yeah,
82, right? So
1982.
that was just grooming you for
Go backwards.
for
Yeah.
for whatever was before. And I was like that with AC/DC and Priest. I was like that with Kiss. I heard the first Kiss I heard was Kiss Alive.
Right.
And I immediately went and bought Hotter Than Hell and whatever, because I was like, oh, these songs are on the live. So I'm discovering
Right.
this backwards thing. So I'm not putting, stories inside of your brain, Dave. I'm just going, this is what you do as a fan when you're going, holy crap, they had another guy before this. Holy shit, they
Oh,
have
yeah.
albums before this. So
Yeah. Of course. It's all about age and location and what
yeah,
you're exposed to at that time. And back then it was all about the radio. And even MTV was a huge revelation in 1982. And
yeah,
by the way, Run to the Hills was a freak out video on MTV compared to everything else that was going on at the time, which was part of the appeal. I saw the band and I was
yeah.
like, oh my God, these guys are fierce, man. This is metal beyond AC/DC and Van Halen. This is next level. And then, Joe Anthony is spinning Killers in the self-titled debut, and I'm going out and I'm buying those as well.
Yeah.
And like you, I have the self-titled Killers, Made in Japan, all autographed by Paul. He was kind enough to sign them for me when I met him in 92 at the
Mhm.
Showcase Event Center in San
Okay.
Antonio. And I've told this story before, but I was there to interview him. He was touring with Killers, and our friend John Perez was the opening act with his band Solitude Aeternus. And I was back in the green room
And
around
Paul's band,
soundcheck.
it was Paul's Killers.
Paul's
Paul Diano's
Killers,
Killers. Okay.
yeah, the Killers band.
Hmm.
And I was back there on this god awful, flea bitten couch, sitting next to Paul. And I asked him if he'd mind if I did an interview.
You would
And
only hope that a dressing room couch only had fleas wrong with it.
yeah, I'm being generous.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, but it was I asked him if I could do an interview. And at the time, I smoked cigarettes. So I had a pack of cigarettes, and he said, I'll keep talking as long as you keep giving me cigarettes. And I think he was sort of enamored by American cigarettes, or else he just didn't have his own and was happy to be bumming them or whatever. But I remember he thought Marlboros were pretty cool, and he did. He kept talking as long as I kept letting him smoke. And then we wrapped up the interview. My car was parked out back, and we went outside, and I had him sign my album. He signed every one of them graciously, a couple photos in a book. So his autograph is around here in about 3 or 4 different places, and he was nice as could be. I'll never forget that memory of hanging out with him.
That's a great memory. I used to hear stories mainly from, there's some cats, some have passed on, that were close friends, if not considered to be best friends, you know, who saw Iron Maiden on the first tour, supporting, well, no, it probably would have been Killers, supporting Priest, I believe.
Wow.
Around Texas.
Yeah.
Bobby Landgraf saw him at this place called the Villa Real, and it's down on the border in, oh God, where is that down there?
I saw him post something recently.
It's on the border. He's from McAllen.
Oh, yeah.
It's in McAllen.
Okay.
And I've played the Real. It's like a big airplane hangar, kind of a old convention center, you know, that you see midtown or on the outskirts kind of thing.
Yeah.
And a big cement floor with a metal roof, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever. You've seen a million concerts in places like that.
Airplane hangar.
Yeah, totally. And anyway, some of my friends would sometimes there would be a bar nearby, you know, that Paul would go to, and they would go with him and play pool.
Yeah.
And I heard multiple stories from the same crew that were all together, or it was different times that they went to Houston and they hung out with Paul Di'Anno, because you like to smoke cigarettes, drink beer, and play pool.
Yep.
Which is so rock and roll, you can't get mad at. You know, shouldn't you be resting your voice? You know, that's like a what? Fuck that. That was unheard of.
Yeah.
To someone who's young and crazy, doesn't give a shit. You know.
Right.
But he kind of personified a lot of attitude.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know when his health problems started, but I'm sure that hard living usually has something to do with it. Probably. We don't know that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But 66 is super young.
Yeah.
I don't think Paul had a whole lot to do with where the band was going image wise and album cover art, concept ideas and things like that. But let's talk about his work and his voice and his style and his lyrics.